I'll say, oh no, I've been recognized. And it's not, people are so nice, but I can't walk into Target without people embracing me, giving me hugs.
Joining us this morning is Mike Morse, Detroit's top 30. Mike Morse is in here to tell us about the backpack giveaway.
Adapt and change things up a little bit every year. So thank you for being here again. I don't know how many years you've been doing the commercials with me. Do you know?
I was trying to think back that first one we did where you walked in and I kept turning around and looking at you, and Ross kept saying, no, like, look at the camera, again. Look at the camera. Right.
So we was here in the office 3, 4, 5 years?
Probably, I don't know, 4 years?
Okay, let's say 4.
Yeah.
And tell me how your life has changed in public since you've been on the TV commercials.
I have a whole different life.
Tell me.
I have a whole different life. I don't even take out the garbage without putting lipstick on.
Why?
Because people come up to me. I'll say to my husband, Ed, we're walking along, I'll say, oh no, I've been recognized. And it's not, people are so nice, but I can't walk into Target without people embracing me, giving me hugs. They all say wonderful things about you.
Oh, that's nice.
So I think, the plus side is, what's so bad about a mother all day long they hear about how wonderful their son is? I mean, that's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
All day long. I love his hair. I love what he says. I love your relationship. They'll quote lines back to me that have been in the commercials.
That's funny.
They love that one that you and your sister did with, who I love best.
Right. That was my idea. I don't have many ideas on the commercials. I got some. Ross Lerner and his team come up with most of the good stuff. But one night, Ross and I were at dinner, and I was remembering back to childhood. And Emily and I always saying, she loves me more. No, he loves me more. No. And I said it to Ross one night, and he wrote it down. The next day he came to me with a script, as he always does, and that was a fun one.
It was really fun, and people, because
they can relate to it.
Exactly.
Everybody thinks the mom loves me better or not. I even say to my daughters, I jokingly say, hey, you're my favorite, just to mess with them.
I always say I did a great job because each of my kids think that they're my favorite.
That's right. So you were kidding when people aren't coming up to you when you're taking out the garbage. You were just exaggerating.
I was exaggerating, right.
but
nobody.
Target, Costco.
I have never had anybody come up and say anything negative. It's always been so nice, and I am in selfies around the city of Detroit.
That's awesome. Well, that's so nice to hear. Well, let's talk about as you're going to be coming on the show, and let's dive into some things that people may not know about me, may not know about us back in the day.
Okay.
And one thing I've been thinking a lot about since I've been writing this book is about my childhood. And I remember, being pretty entrepreneurial from such a young age.
Right.
And, you and I have not talked about this before this minute, so I'm just curious what you remember. And I'll share some things that I remember. But what do you remember about my childhood with me trying to make money, trying to get people, items that they couldn't normally get, things like that?
I mean, I think that you were always trying to create ways to make money, to keep yourself busy. Like, as you got older, when I say older, you were still just a teenager. Your sister would go off for camp, and you wanted to stay home and work. And you didn't have to work. You didn't do it because I charged you rent.
Right. I don't remember your dad ever saying you need to make money.
Never. We never said that, and we never asked for money. I mean, it was your money. I mean, you were always like that, and you and I have talked about how you went to a friend's drugstore, and you started rearranging all of the merchandise.
It was Uncle Hadar's.
Yes. And he said, whatever he said to me when he brought you home, he said, whatever he does, he's going to be successful at. And I think you were about 8 years old.
So my uncle had a very successful drugstore in Trenton.
West Grange Pharmacy.
Which felt like a 3-hour drive. I think it's only 35 minutes. But when you're an 8-year-old, it felt like a 3-hour drive.
Right.
And for some reason, I wanted to go to work with him and work the cash register and meet his clients or his, the people coming in and out of the store. And I don't remember what I actually loved about it, but I do remember liking the people, interactions with the people. I liked working the cash register, and I did have a knack for rearranging things and saying, why are the cigarettes right here? Why don't you put this expensive whatever right here? And he said, oh my God, that's genius. And he would rearrange the store based on my 8-year-old instincts. And he said that they worked.
It worked. Well, based on piggybacking on that, so we had moved to a new house, and I decided to have a garage sale. And you came home, and I said, listen, I have to go out for an hour. Would you man the garage sale? And I came home, and you had a wad of money because I was listening to you tell customers, that was my favorite toy. I just love that toy. I love that book. And people were buying. And I thought, oh, my God, I should leave more often. You were probably 13.
Wow.
Maybe.
So it's weird that, I was trying to figure out, did these instinctual things that I have in my DNA come around because of, your and dad's divorce, or because of, being bullied as a kid, or traumas that I had growing up? And the truth is I had them way before that.
Yeah, I really believe, because I've always been in sales of a way, and I love marketing, and I love that, and I think your mind either goes that way or it doesn't, and I think you're programmed that way from the time you're very young. I mean, when you became a waiter, which you loved.
Yeah, loved it.
Sunday mornings, you had a wad of cash on your nightstand. For years, I never had to go to the bank to cash a check. I would just give you a check and you'd give me cash.
Bank of Mike.
And, I never asked or used your money, or it was never that. You loved it. And you would say how you talked to the customers. And I remember you and I was teaching you French, so you could say like beef bourguignon.
Yeah, we had to memorize menus and descriptions of menus. Oh, look who's here. My doggy's here. Jessie, come here. Get up here. Jessie. Jessie, the mascot of the show, is here. She's sniffing around. So, it's interesting, Mom, because as you're talking about it and as I've been thinking about it, it's never been about the money.
No.
Because I didn't need the money. I didn't go out there and buy myself fancy watches or anything. I do remember buying a waterbed.
Oh, God.
When I was 15 or 16.
Without asking. And
Jason and I set it up, and you weren't happy about it.
I was not happy.
But it was set up, and it was too hard to move, so I got to keep it. But it wasn't about the money. It was about it was a game for me, I think.
What about when you sold the chipwiches and you drove on the moped downtown every day?
Before I was 16, I went downtown. I have a picture. Hold on.
Of the chipwiches?
See right behind me? So that's fine. Oh, shit. Hold on. Going deep.
So I'll tell the story about the chipwiches.
I'm under the desk.
So
people.
So you were down by Hart Plaza. That's where you were selling them.
So, true story.
Every day.
Can we see this, Trey? Are we good? So, somebody gave me the opportunity. I was 15. I wasn't driving yet.
Right.
And chipwiches, which were these big, delicious cookies. This is in 1983 or 4. And they were $1. Now, when I tell you, people listening, $1 back then was a lot of money for an ice cream sandwich, because I remember. And people weren't all that excited, because if you look next to it, the Good Humors were 45 cents and 55 cents. God, I feel old just talking about this. But anyway, so I would sell chipwiches, and they would give you 25 cents a sandwich. You got to sell a boatload of chipwiches to make any money. So I did it for about 2, 3, 4 days and made my 20, 30 bucks a day. And I spent 8, 10 hours on the streets of Detroit in the mid-'80s. Not like it is today. Let's just say I didn't get mugged or anything, but it was not all that pretty. But Dad was downtown working in the First National Building, and he would check on me, and he would buy a lot of sandwiches and make his friends come buy sandwiches. But I came up with this idea that wasn't enough profit margin for me. So I called with my cousin Robbie. We called the local Good Humor place in Detroit. I don't remember where it was, but it was not downtown. And I said, can I sell Good Humors downtown? And they said, well, come talk to us. We went to their shop and they had these big carts, kind of like this. And they said, we'll give you a cart for free. You come here every morning and buy your ice cream and you could keep the entire profit. And the profit was much better than a quarter a bar. It was like 30, 40 cents a bar. And then so we did that. I started buying water and pop and doubling the profit on those. And we would make $50 to $100 a day selling Good Humors. So I quit Chipwich and worked for myself for the entire summer, making $100 a day as a 15-year-old kid. Couldn't even drive yet. And I remember it. And that was a fun summer.
That was fun.
That was pretty entrepreneurial.
And then there was the time where you worked 2 different restaurants across the street from each other, and one you needed a brown pair of pants and one you needed a black pair of pants.
Right.
So you kept the other pants, and you would go back and forth to the restaurants.
The waiting stuff, so I remember working at Ramshorn as a busboy.
Yep.
And I was 14 or 15, and I would ride my moped in the day, in the night. Jesse, come here, Jesse. She's sniffing everybody. She's sniffing all the camera guys. And I would make money, and I was the youngest person in this place. And then finally I got up to be a waiter, which we could talk about for lots and lots of time, which we will in the future. But I always just had this knack. I wanted to stay busy. I wanted to get out of the house. Didn't have a ton of friends at the time and was being bullied a little bit here and there. And I just kind of wanted to stay busy.
But it wasn't even just getting out of the house, because I remember one summer when I wanted you to go to camp. Your sister was going to camp, and I thought you should go to camp. And you said, no, I want to stay home and work. So you would have been out of the house for 2 months.
I love business.
Yeah.
I love connecting with people. I love looking for value. I love seeking people's attention. Like I just had it figured out. Like when I was a waiter, I was the best waiter these restaurants had.
You had a hard time giving that up when you were studying for the bar. I said, Michael, when you pass the bar, you have to give up being a waiter.
That's funny.
Because I said, if you run into somebody who might be a client, it might be
can't
embarrassing.
Be a waiter. It was a game.
Yeah.
Because I was always, it was just a game, selling the most and the best food and the wine and becoming a wine, expert, so I could be able to sell the wine to people and make the most tips. It was just, I don't know. It was a lot of fun. And then I quit being a waiter to go to law school or become a lawyer. And then I remember when I first became a lawyer, you had to find clients, and I was nobody. I was 25 years old.
Right.
Do you remember when I set up a booth at the Gibraltar Trade Center?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what you remember about that.
Well, I just remember you're going down there, and I remember, Ed and I, Ed being my husband, we looked at each other, we couldn't believe it. And I do remember.
The Gibraltar Trade Center, I think they're still around. I heard
I don't
one
think
of them.
So.
They got closed.
Yeah.
One of them's turning into, I heard, a big, huge grow operation, growing marijuana.
Well,
I don't know if that's true or not.
There you go.
But I would go there and I'd set up a little booth and I'd give free legal advice, and I would try to collect people's addresses and send them a magnet or send them a card and give them a free will. And I did that for a while. It felt like a good 6 months, 8 months. It was boring as all get up. I met some nice people, but it was far, and it was boring. And I had to go out there every Saturday and Sunday, and I quit that pretty quick. But I did it a good 6, 8 months.
You did?
And so being industrious and entrepreneurial.
Always.
I remember the paper routes, as we mentioned earlier, and the I remember begging Dad for a job. And he got me a job at a law firm that I could ride my bike to when we lived in Farmington Hills.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, kind of.
Sheldon Sharg.
Oh, I know Sheldon. Right,
Do you
of
remember
course.
that?
Yes.
And so this is a cute story.
He had been a law clerk of your dad's.
Sheldon was law clerk?
Yeah.
So my dad says, I got you a job at Sheldon Sharg's office. I said, okay. So I rode my bike after school and in the summer to Sheldon Sharg's office. And he was a single practitioner. I don't even know what kind of law he did. I answered the phones. I did a little filing. And then he had me do some weed whacking outside of his office, which I did not like the weed whacking. And I did that for, 2-3 months and whatever. It was fine. It taught me what I didn't want to do, which was weed whacking. And then after my dad died, I remember Sheldon coming up to me at the funeral or at the Shiva, and pulling me aside and said, you remember when you worked for me a few years ago for the summer? I said, sure. He says, your dad asked me if you could work for me, and I didn't have enough business to afford to pay you. He said, but Michael could still for sure work there. And my dad said, okay, well, I'll pay his wages. I'll send you the check. You pay my son, and don't tell him. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that until after my dad died.
Wow. I didn't know. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yep. So that's how much I bugged Dad to let him to make him get me a job. That's how bad I wanted to work. And I don't remember the driving force behind it, but that was a sweet story, obviously. And
it's a loving story.
Appreciate my dad doing that, but it was the lengths that I went to work from that point forward.
And when you were in Arizona in school, you got a job waiting tables where you absolutely didn't have to.
I remember that too.
Because I went down there and I think I got a good Italian meal out of the day.
You probably did. Probably a free spumoni.
Probably.
A little extra soup. You used to always come into all the restaurants that I worked at.
I did.
I remember that. They used to always give you a little
dessert.
No,
when you worked at Panache, and they brought
the 555 building.
Right, and you brought over the dessert cart. It was so much fun.
I remember Panache. I remember giving you guys lots of desserts and giving you the best tables in the place.
Right.
That was fun.
And I remember you in your tuxedo with the pad that you wrote the order on in your back hip pocket, like it would stick out of your tuxedo.
Right. All right. So
it's always fun to sit here and reminisce.
Reminiscing is good. Ross, you agree? Totally. So back to the waiter days, I remember lots of fun things, Mom. I remember you helping me and quizzing me on the wines and the menus. And I remember, do you remember when I had to make Caesar salads tableside?
Yes.
Did I ever make you a Caesar salad at home? I think I did.
I think you might have.
You bought me the ingredients.
Yeah.
At Treats out on Orchard Lake Road.
Right.
It used to be the meeting place, then Treats.
It's been 1,000 things.
Well, that was a hard menu to learn. Not only did I have to make Caesar salads tableside, at the same time when I had to make 8 Caesar salads for this table, I had to fillet 3 goddarn Dover soles at this table.
Right.
And then this table was out of coffee. That's hectic stuff because you had to sit there and make the Caesar salads.
I don't know how you did it.
But the garlic, I still remember to this day, there was 10 ingredients to our Caesar salad dressing. 10. Because because people would have to ask what's in the Caesar salad. You had to memorize it. I still know it. You want to guess the 10? Feel free. You want to guess the 10? Is that boring?
Garlic.
Should we do that? All right, go ahead. Garlic.
Oil.
Olive oil. Yeah.
Olive oil. Eggs.
1 egg.
1 egg. What else?
Really? You just got 3 out of 10?
Oh, well, you mean the actual salad? Well, it was romaine lettuce.
Romaine lettuce.
Croutons.
Parmesan cheese.
Wait, anchovies.
Worcestershire sauce.
Oh, I would never have gotten that one.
Little Tabasco and Dijon mustard.
There you go.
And you smush the anchovies. Now we got a cooking show.
And
we got a cooking podcast here.
You know what? You don't.
So you never know where this is going to go. You smush the anchovies into the wood bowl, and then you put the olive oil in. Then you make the dressing. Then you put the romaine lettuce in. You toss it all together. Sprinkle the Parmesan. You just give it to the person.
So this Sunday we're doing dinner.
Geez.
And guess what you're bringing?
Caesar salad.
There you go. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, yeah, that sounds great. So what else is going on, Mom, with your life these days?
Well, I have decided that this is the year that I'm going to be retiring. I've been a financial planner for 35 years, which I have loved. And I'm going to gradually, I'm not totally retiring. I'm going to keep a little bit of my practice, but I found this wonderful couple who the woman is like I was 30 years ago. I mean, we can finish each other's sentences, and I think my clients will like her. And I want to spend more time in Florida. And the fact that Ed is, 7 years older than I am, I've decided it's time. And your daughters, my granddaughters, are older now. So they're busy with their own lives, and we don't need to drive carpool, and we don't need to, do all the things we did. So it's time. It's time for a new chapter.
Florida's going to be good for you guys, I think.
We love it.
So you'll come back and forth. We'll come down and visit you.
Yeah, bring anytime.
We're coming.
You could set up a little microphone
area.
Set up a little
podcast in
the
Sarasota.
second bedroom.
don't tempt me. Don't get crazy. We might do that.
Podcast on the Suncoast.
There you go.
Podcast on the Suncoast. Maybe we'll bring Ross. Maybe we won't. We'll see. Maybe we'll bring some people.
I'm excited that there's still things to be excited about.
Well, it's good. You look great. You're staying in good shape, which means
It's
you're
that
going to be around.
working out every day that does it.
I remember you. So you definitely taught me the importance of working out.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was real young, you doing the Jane Fonda tapes in our living room.
I used to put you in the little bouncy seat, and I would do Jack LaLanne.
That I don't remember, but I do remember the crazy tights and the and the headband,
the leg
and,
warmers,
the leg warmers, and you would be doing.
I wore every gimmick.
I bet
there
you
isn't
did.
a gimmick that I missed.
I bet you did.
I think I had the matching a little elastic that went around the waist when I still had a waist, and it went with the leg warmers.
That's cute. And listen, because of you, I work out almost every day.
Yeah.
I eat healthy, try to stay skinny,
Right.
and
It works.
It works. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I'm planning on it.
Keep it up.
I have memberships to 3 different clubs.
Oh yeah. Yes, you do.
And I am the oldest at the newer one.
You are?
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I want you to get to your Pilates class on time
Thank
today,
you.
Mom. And I love you.
I love you too.
And thank you for doing this. And
Okay.
we'll see you next time.
Okay, great.
Thanks for watching Open Mic. Subscribe over here, watch all the videos, like them, share them, tell your friends, and please, please subscribe to our show and share it all. See you soon.